Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my patterns on paper. It's a super easy process and I think it's kind of interesting how it all comes together, so I hope you guys enjoy. So to make my pattern, I'm using a piece of sketchbook paper that I cut to be a perfect square. You want this to be paper that's maybe not the nicest, because we're going to be cutting it up in a minute. So I'm just painting a solid color background. And then I'm just going in and drawing some vines. For my pattern, I'm doing a floral pattern. And I actually made a mistake on this part. As you can see, I'm drawing to the edge of the page, and I usually do not do that. I usually leave a bit of a gap, because when we cut it up and realign it, it will not align perfectly if you draw straight to the edge. So it's best to fill in once you put the paper back together. And I know that probably makes no sense right now, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. Basically, for the first step, we're just drawing whatever you would like on the paper after you get your background color in. And make sure you don't go to the edges like I did here. Another thing I want to point out is that you can see that I'm kind of doing a linear design where my flowers are following these like vine shapes. You do not have to do that at all. You can have your elements completely scattered across the page. They don't have to follow an order. This is just what I chose to do for this pattern. So I'm just getting my last details here and there in, and as you can see, there's kind of like 4 lines where I folded the paper into fourths. So I'm going to be cutting that up into 4 little pieces, so it should look exactly like that. And then we're going to take the 2 on the right, move them to the left, and then take the 2 on the bottom and move them to the top. And then we're going to tape it together exactly like that. So once that's all taped up, I'm actually going in and fixing my mistake of where the vines did not quite line up correctly. I just took some of my background color and put that over and fixed it, so it was a pretty easy fix. And then I'm going in where the seams of the paper meet and just adding in that leaf detail, and I'm going in and adding some more details in the middle of the page. I'm going to be adding some more roses and flowers just to make the pattern more full. So once you're done painting your pattern, go ahead and take a really good picture of your pattern. And I just used my phone with some natural lighting, and that worked out really well. And then we're going to be opening that photo up in an editing software. I'm using GIMP, which is free for Mac and Windows. So I'll leave a link to download GIMP in the description box if you guys are interested. But you can also use Photoshop or any other editing software. So I just opened that up, and now we're going to go to the scale tool and scale the image down till it is a bit smaller than the canvas. So now that it's a lot smaller, I'm just moving it into the corner, and then I'm going to go into the bottom right hand corner and hit the duplicate layer button and scoot over the new layer, and our pattern should kind of start to come together at this point. It'll come together a little bit more when we do this a second time. So now I'm right clicking on the layer and hitting merge down, and that will just make things a lot easier for us. So I'm duplicating that again and bringing the second one down. And now I'm just going in and cropping the canvas. I don't really know why I did this, but I did. So I'm just going to make sure everything's merged onto one layer, and then I'm going to shrink it down a second time. I feel like there would have been an easier way to do this, but that's okay. I'm gonna duplicate that layer, scoot it over, and this is just so you guys can see how far you can really stretch this pattern just by using that one piece of paper that we made. And I'm going to do this another time, duplicate it, bring it down, and there is our pattern. And we can still make some more adjustments once we zoom in. As the pattern gets smaller, it gets a lot harder to see what's going on, but just making some adjustments here and there and scooting things over so they're in the right spot. But this is pretty much it. This is how you make a pattern on paper. So the reason I upload my patterns into a editing software is so I can get an idea of what it will look like once that block of paper we made gets repeated a bunch of times. As you can see, the pattern doesn't read that well digitally with just that picture that we took. You know, the background's really uneven, and you can kind of see the cut lines that we made. So now I'm going to show you how I use these patterns that I make. So here's a piece of paper that I did the same exact thing with, except instead of painting it, I drew it with a marker. So then I took this paper, took a picture of it, and did the same exact steps we did in GIMP, where I repeated it a bunch of times, and it kind of looked like this once it was finished. And then I used a projector and projected that image of the repeated pattern onto my canvas, so I could then directly paint on the canvas with the pattern projected as a template. And this is how that painting turned out. If you're interested in seeing my process of making this painting from start to finish, you can check out my previous videos. But this is pretty much how you make a pattern. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.